Welcome. Namaste. Habari Gani, beautiful souls. Welcome to this fifth day celebration of Kwanzaa. It is my pleasure to share this spread with you today, this spread that was inspired by my participation in the Kwanzaa celebration on YouTube last year with Queen Aset and Veronica Rose. And they are both mentioned in the description box below. And I want to thank them enormously for introducing me to this celebration to bring together community. And intentionally, it was set up for the Black community in the United States in the 1960s. There's a little bit of information also below and a link that you can refer to if Kwanzaa is something that's new to you. Today, we're celebrating the fifth the fifth concept, the fifth precept, which is Nia, purpose. And for me, this is a really special one. I have been working with this concept for some time personally. And last year, when I did this one, it was really kind of overwhelming what came up in the spread. So I'm looking forward to what arises today. Also, last year, if you want to go back and Google Nia, not Google, search Nia on my channel, I shared with you Stephen Cope's book, The Great Work of Your Life. It was one of I want to say the first books on Dharma that really spoke to me loudly, and I highly, highly recommend this book. The concept today is about Dharma, but not just your personal Dharma. It's about the interconnectivity of your purpose with community and with those around you and how we can support each other also in all directions of time. So there's questions today about building in ancestral Dharma as well as our current purpose in working with our careers and our community. So I look forward to sharing this spread with you. Hello, good morning, Clevis and Joel Pallavi. Welcome. Thank you so much for joining me. It was a no-brainer today which deck that I was going to use. Thank you so much. I'm going to use the lovely Om Tarot by Darshani, mostly because when I see and feel this word Nia, and I'm just going to get my banner started here. I'll read with you the opening general banner. Scrolling. I've made so many banners over the past few days. Hello, Leanda. Happy New Year to you as well, too. Nia. And so to make our collective vocation the building and developing of our community in order to restore our people to their traditional greatness. And what is my role in this greatness? And as I was saying, the intention here was for the Black community in the US, but what if we could unite our greatness amongst all cultures, all people, and really learn to support one another by understanding what our God-given role, is, and by claiming that and owning it. It's just such a lovely, lovely concept. Also, what I want to say is that these spreads are deep, and I don't feel that their depth can be absorbed in a single day. These are spreads that I would, if this were not part of a 7-day celebration, would probably do no more than one a month, because there's a lot to work with in each of these spreads. Yeah. Also, you can see behind me, I have lit my second green candle, and I'll have to replace the black candle tomorrow. We have 2 more precepts to go, so there'll be 3 red, 3 green, and a black candle in the center. And perhaps I'll get on the ball earlier next year and find a lovely, there's some beautiful artisans on Etsy that I have seen, the candle stands that, I'm sorry, I forget the word, there's a special name for it, that are created for Kwanzaa, made out of particular kinds of wood. So I'm hoping to have one of those for you next year when I hop on with this one. I see Dee is here as well. Welcome, Dee. Okay, so I am going to shuffle my cards and I will deal out all of the cards. Also, I still have the cards on my table. I will finish doing my card readings, tarot card of the year readings once I sign off here today. I believe there's 3 more to do, and I know I was feeling. Anyway, I'll talk about that later. Let's focus on Nia now. Let's focus on you. And the way I trimmed my lovely ohm, I didn't do a great job on the cardstock. It doesn't riffle shuffle well anymore, unfortunately. But I think the artwork really popped when I did that, so don't regret doing it. All right. Why? So why the lovely ohm? Bhagavad Gita. That's why. Why the lovely ohm? I really feel the lessons of Dharma are so beautifully shared through the teachings of Krishna to Arjuna in the Bhagavad Gita, regardless of the translation that you choose, or whether you read a book like the one I just shared with you, really helps us to understand what our purpose might be. So as I cut these cards, I'm focusing on the concept of Nia, the unification of our purpose, our Dharma, our God-given talents. How can we embrace them and share them for the highest and greatest good? Okay. So let me rotate this for you. Get these out of the way. Sorry, so many decks on the table. Okay, so the spread today goes 1, 2, 3. All the spreads are 7 card. 4. And I guess I'll move these over. Take off the Sadhana. Okay. 1, 2, 3, 4. Hopefully I've got these not upside down. 5, 6, 7. I can see that Om is there, so we're good. The if you want to come back to this later too, the prompts are in the description box below. Elena, hello. Hello. All right, so here we go. This is number 1. And please lean into the artwork of your deck. If you are going to respond and share the cards that you are drawing for each of the positions, make sure you put up the number of the position, as well as a couple of words or thoughts on what the interpretation might mean for you. So this to me is very layered. This is my personal purpose. And the eagle is behind. There is a visible third eye on the knight. All the chakra colors are present. There seems to be some beautiful symmetry and nature behind as well too. This feels, I want to say that word is very, very important here. And there is an idea here too, the way that the chakra colors are drawn in this shape. It feels like, I was going to say the word ascension, but notice how the shape of the mountain matches the trees and the birds in the distance, another direction. So there's definitely a focus, there's an intensity to this purpose. There's a mountain, a growing mountain. Also the pine cone in the foreground. The pine cone is a symbol that is also associated with the pineal gland. And I'm going to address that in the first class of the chakra course, because the chakra course is starting next week. I'm so excited about this. But the pine cone is the little tiny organ called the pineal gland at the center of the brain. And by focusing here, we can begin to clear and purify and stimulate the third eye chakra. And so this particular Knight of Swords feels um, quite high frequency. It doesn't feel volatile to me. Anyway, it's kind of it's quite inspiring to me. Um, but also, there's something about preciseness in word, accuracy in words, and perhaps energetically not wasting words, which is really important when you do the kind of work that I do. Okay, so the next prompt goes down below, number 2 here. My next step in actioning my personal purpose. And I have another court card. Last year when I did the spread, I had so many court cards as well too. So I have a Princess of Discs, more mountains to climb. There is a pink and white yin yang symbol. She is growing from a tree. There's a real earthy energy to this particular princess and deep, deep connection to nature. The light behind the moonlight. This actually, this feels very similar so far to the spread that I got last year, and it had to do with connections to all ages of people. I feel ceremony. Both of these cards, I feel ceremony is important. Connection, creating circles, rituals, spiritual circles. Clavis has shared that her first card is the High Priestess. So you have a high purpose here, Clavis, to share also the word, the secrets, the teachings in whatever vehicle or way feels right for you. And remember that our purpose doesn't and if you hear a very weird noise, my washing machine is spinning. Sorry, I thought it would be done before I started. We start within ourselves. Our purpose needs to feel true to ourself. We need to recognize it personally. And then we start to slowly expand, moving in a outward direction to larger and larger communities. And so the High Priestess or the Knight of Swords or whatever your first card is begins at home, begins with you, right? Begins with you. And then we go to number 3, which is going to connect you to your ancestors, your ancestral purpose. This is a card that I have had in other spreads during the Kwanzaa spreads. This is the 4 of Cups. So this is yet another element. So I have had air, earth, and water. And it's a 4. What do 4s represent? Let's just kind of go there. So 4s represent foundation. This particular scene I see as underwater. And we have an interesting combination of colors. The algae, the sea plants are blue-green, and behind in the distance we have an orange color. So this feels very temperance-y to me, with the water and the fiery color in the background. So there's a real blending of energy. 4 of Cups. 4 of Cups. Well, those most of you read, right? So you know what the 4 of Cups traditionally represents. And my ancestral connection. I have something kind of off the wall that I'd like to say here. So I have always felt deeply connected to the civilization of Lemuria, Pacific Ocean. And it's funny that this card is here. So perhaps my foundation is or was connected to some sort of underwater civilization. That's interesting. My foundation comes from deep within the subconscious. It's really, when these spreads are deep and wide, you can go in lots of directions. So let your mind be open. Let your interpretations flow. Try to get out of your little white book and I'm going to say the little white book is very left brain, you know, so try to slide over more to your right brain and allow these interpretations to be expansive for you. Okay. The fourth prompt is how I can honor and respect my ancestral purpose. So let's go here. Three of Swords. So if my ancestral purpose is to take others deep into the depths of the ocean, right? So my ancestral purpose is to take people deep underwater, deep into their shadow, deep into their patterns and subconscious. The how I can honor it is by creating space for their grief, creating space for their challenges. I wouldn't be surprised if a Knight of Pentacles showed up. I've had a Knight of Pentacles in a few different ones during this series. In that honoring of process and patience and time and holding space is really important. So I feel with that Three of Swords, and this is a theme that keeps coming up for me now and then, is getting back to grief work. I have not been doing any grief counseling or hospice work recently, but I feel something like that is coming up here as well too. So I want to honor that. So how are you doing with your first four cards? If you're doing the spread, are you weaving a story together? Does it surprise you? Does it make sense? Does it feel good? Support what you're doing? The next one is going to expand. Okay, so this is about, for me, this would be my expanding into the YouTube community, working with others. Great, Clevis, very revealing. This would be expanding and connecting with other yoga teachers in the community, other healers, readers, right? So this is about expanding, and not just locally here, but nationally, internationally, and so forth. Okay. What I'm picking up with this 10 of Wands is a environmental vibe. I'm picking up an environmental vibe. So this is the result of too much fire. It's the result of too much fire. So my collective purpose is in healing the land. But ultimately, why do we heal the land? Why do we work to heal the land? In healing the land, we heal ourselves. As without, so within. Also, if you have an abundance of wands cards in your spread, just make note of that, because the Suit of Wands is about Dharma. It's about life path and will and purpose. So know that if you have an abundance of wands, things are what can I say, on track. But just pay more attention to the fire suit, because it's very much connected to Nia. Okay, number 6, my next step in actioning my collective purpose. Well, I know I'm not a protester. That's one thing I know I'm not. It's not a role that I'm comfortable with. I'm there. You know, I feel like part of my purpose is helping others to find connections, to understand how what is going on outside is a mirror of what's going on inside. Right? So some kind of a Six of Cups. This is Radha Krishna. 6. So quite a contrast between the fifth and the sixth cards with the color, right? There's an intensity of color, and then there's an absence of color. And 5 was my collective purpose, and 6 was actioning. So part of my action is to color people's experiences. It's to see the richness of life, or the potential richness of life. The story of Radha Krishna, Krishna and Radha, it's a love story. It's one of, and really they are one and the same soul. So you can look at this, if this might, if there were a lover's card or other cards of, other cards that reflect different aspects of self, that would amplify this as well too. 6 hexagram, of course, heart chakra. So this is about helping people with healing the heart space. So Clavis for card 6 got the 10 of swords. I have more swords than wands. Okay, so swords. The voice. So play with the language around words and swords. Voice and words. There's something in Clavis perhaps about writing, speaking, helping others to speak. Look at the progression of the numbers. So my next step in actioning my collective purpose is in working with others. I'm feeling, I do have a workshop, a forgiveness workshop, but this is more feeling like a self-compassion, self-care kind of thing. And and then, so what I'm seeing in the card before that is almost like it's a rape of the world, right? The world has been devastated, and then it's about filling the cup again. So moving from a depletion to fullness. And so this is about helping others to know how to do that. And then the final prompt: how can I best use my purpose to build and develop my community? So this question brings it back to whichever community you're working with most closely. So this might be at home, it might be in your neighborhood or a specific organization. It could be the community that at your workplace. It could be in your town or your village. What did I say about, so this is the second time I've had death as the final card in the Kwanzaa spreads. And what I'm picking up here for myself is that going back to my work as not only a grief worker, but working with families through hospice support. I am not a death doula, but I've done so much work in this area, and I really love to sit with people during transition of life. So taking my work into this much needed aspect of community. That's absolutely fascinating, because I believe it was, I'm just looking at, I've got all my spreads here. So this would be day 2. And in day 2, this is the death card that I got on the 7th position. So I'm going to have to go back and do a little bit of a review of the word of the question for card position 7, day 2, and see what arises, what that was all about. And I suggest you do the same. If you've put your cards away, or you've been using the same deck for each of the spreads, to go back. You can do a card count, see which cards have been showing up, repeating. Because ultimately, in working with all of these concepts together, so the first day concept was umoja, unity. And if you think of unity as the hexagram, the heart space, and just allow that nourishing of your own heart so that you can serve in a greater and more global way, right? It's all of these spreads are connected. So don't just make these one-off things. They're pretty powerful. And I know time, right? Time is always of the essence, and how much time do we have to spend journaling and reflecting? But it's important. It's important. One of your intentions for 2022 might be to mark off a time in the week and look at your calendar and see if there's 2 hours every Thursday, and you could block this in. This is my journal time. This is my going back to my spreads and reflection time. You know, it's important. It's important. So thank you. Thank you for joining me here today. I'll be back on shortly, and I'm going to do 3 more of the tarot card of the year readings. So I hope you will join me for that. And thank you. Thank you. The greeting for Kwanzaa is Habari Gani, and today's response is Mia. Namaste.